Are you ready? Mike from around the world is joining us. Mike, how you doing today?
Pastor Paul, doing good. How about yourself?
I'm doing wonderful, blessed and highly favored. And wow, it's great to have you today.
Awesome to be here. Awesome to be here.
All right, Mike. I'm wearing a seatbelt. I don't have my helmet. I should. I got the helmet of salvation. Wait. I got it. I'm all right.
Okay. We're good now. Need that helmet.
Yep.
Boy, things are just rocking and rolling along, huh?
Yes, they are, Mike. And I want to talk about this incoming asteroid debris field. But before I do, can we just ask you a question about this glacier in the Himalayas breaking off, crashing into the rivers, and just blowing through two different hydroelectric plants? I think it was over 200 people are dead. Maybe over 100 are still buried. It's a horrible sight. What causes that, Mike? And earlier this year we had a huge ice berg, or actually bigger than an iceberg, just broke off down in Antarctica. So, Mike, what's causing all of this?
Well, we're dealing with a type of thermal heating, infrared penetration, causing all these cold spots and permafrost to just go away. In fact, Russia, large areas of land in Russia, nobody can go into right now because if you step foot in there, you'll sink about 7 feet. The thermal frost is gone, so permafrost is gone, and lots of course, it exposes the ground underneath, but it is something else. We are so irradiated right now, in which I'm getting together a warning for this summer's heat. A lot of warnings and some advisements for the first time, because this temperature steady increase is heating everything up. We're not only being heated up by the sun, but the Earth itself is heating up from the inside. So I've got a few places on the radar due to that heating. But as far as these glaciers go, that's very dangerous for a host of reasons. But water is one. Water can literally, if people saw that video, they could see how powerful and how much water was displaced. And that was a very tiny, minute piece, right? So imagine that. What's been happening is about every month that's been happening. Every single month.
What, breaking off?
Event has been happening every month. So it's not, this isn't just, it just didn't happen that one time, but this happens every single month, and it's increasing more and more.
So the breaking off of these glaciers is actually, we just hear about that one because it actually fell, hit that river, and wiped out these people in the villages and stuff. But you're saying every month it's happening, and more and more and more.
That's right. Every single month. It gets to me because for many years now, people have talked about these subjects, but they've also diluted the subjects by way of propaganda and politics. So much so that when you begin to discuss that subject, people can't take it seriously. But let me say this: if you get a warning, 80-year warning about something, that's a pretty bad event. If something slight happens, you warn a person a couple of hours before it happens. Right. If something horrible happens, you warn them 1,000 years before it happens. We've had a 2,000+ year warning of quite a few things that are coming. And prior to that, it was a few more, add another 1,000 to it. The warnings that we were given were so incredible that they're almost hard to believe, but everything is pointing towards these warnings actually taking place. And this generation that we're in right now, we're the ones that are going to be dealing with an atmosphere that we can't even see through nor breathe.
What?
The air of. This generation, not another one, this one. It seems that the escalation point, as far as the intervals between these events, they're less and less. And America has a serious problem under the earth. So does Saudi Arabia. So does everybody's about to have an oil problem because of magma. So we're going to have quite a few disruptions that will come after this heat event. It's not a good picture.
What kind of mass Mike, what kind of mask do we got to wear? What kind of mask do we got to wear for this?
Well, a mask, well, it better have a ventilation system on it. You know what? I suspect that when this happens, Pastor Paul, because ash from a volcano,
yeah,
it will, if you breathe that in, it will get into your bloodstream and go straight to your bones and cause bad problems. It'll cause deformities in children and everything else, not to mention we're going to deal with toxins. And our immune systems collectively, as far as human beings, are compromised, period. People have more diseases than they think. That doctors just won't report it. So, yeah, it's not going to be a good time. And we're having a record amount of particulates in the atmosphere due to volcanism, just volcanism. The carbon footprint has gone up 290% just from volcanism. It will increase that'll double probably every 3 months. It seems to double. It's going up now. The trending is certainly going up because we have more and more volcanic activity, and we have some very ancient cold eras that are being spotted by satellite because they're filling up with magma. That's never happened before. Satellites are now detecting heat plumes. Now, certain heat plume detections are for nuclear weapons, but magma's doing it now. So it's so many things in flux and in change, moving, going along that.
When do you see this? Okay, now I understand we got this debris field coming, but when do you see this? We're in the generation you say that we're going to be living in wearing a mask. I mean, basically a gas mask because of the dust. Is that from volcanoes going off, or is that dust from coming in? I mean, give us a clue on that.
Well, number one, we're going to have a sharp increase in volcanism. Number one, a sharp increase. We've already had an increase since we began talking about this back in 2013, 14, or whatever it was. But we're going to have a sharp increase. We're also going to have some of the long durational eruptions, meaning some of these volcanoes that open up, they're going to become just like faucets, right? They're going to stay open for years, potentially. They will just continue to flood the atmosphere with lots of particulates. Not only that, but we're also going to have a problem with this magma because it's eating away at the ground. It's coming up to the surface. It is very close to certain oil lines right now, right? So we're going to have an ignition point. We're going to have oil fires right here in the USA. That's coming. That's black smoke. And if anybody was in the Gulf War, when Saddam Hussein lit those fields on fire, you'll be dealing with that. You know, I coughed up oil, I think, for about a month and a half dealing with that situation.
What? But, where were you at when you coughed up oil?
That's when he set the oil fields on fire.
Oh, Kuwait. And over there in Kuwait and in Iraq.
Yeah, it was drifting all over the place, and it was so thick because we had some things to do over there, and we had to get some people out of there. But I just I sucked up a lot of that stuff, and it's not good. It feels like we got to the point where it felt like all of us were drowning, but they couldn't do anything because oil is heavy, and if you can't pump somebody's lungs without destroying all the air sacs. So it was almost like drowning. It's almost like a test that we took where they literally drowned us in a pool. Making us swim laps, but yeah, that wasn't a good thing. But a person, just the average individual going through that's going to be devastating. So we have that problem as the magma gets closer and closer to the surface and it spreads out like fingers underneath the earth. We're going to have instabilities in the ground, sinkholes, except this time you're going to have sinkholes with magma at the bottom, or certainly lots of sulfur. The smell of the air is going to be full of methane and sulfur, certainly on the coasts. And the reason it's going to be on the coasts is because in the ocean, there's too much volcanic activity. There are already big, huge bubbles that come up every so often. In fact, I believe it was 3 weeks ago, a cloud of, it must have been sulfuric acid or something like that, was gases coming up from the seafloor. Almost made an entire ship sick. All the occupants on that boat were sickened by it. And so we have all these events taking place. That will dislodge sea life at the seafloor. It happens all the time. So when people start seeing large creatures, which they're doing right now in the Philippines, and we need some saints down there in Chile to really watch out for Chile. But we have things washing up all over the place with some oddball stories in between.
Wait, Mike, actually, when you bring this up, we just had a 32-foot whale washed up in the Everglades off the coast of Florida. It happened yesterday, and yet this is a whale that's never been discovered before. This is a species of whale we never knew existed, just come out of deep within the ocean and wound up washing up on the shores near there in the Everglades of Florida. So is that what you're saying?
Yeah, their habitat is being overtaken by all these eruptions. It really is a nightmare underneath the ocean floor. And if anybody would ever want to educate themselves on this, just look for some type of discovery video or something like that on volcanism underneath the ocean, volcanoes under the water. They will give you a pretty good LiDAR image of what you're dealing with, and they'll show you what's active. It will blow your mind to find out what's active underneath the ocean. Naturally, you can't see it topside yet. Of course, in the ocean right now, there's, I think it's something like 68 plumes that are coming out from active volcanoes. Eventually, those may form islands like they are near Japan. But you have these issues all over the place. They don't cover this, Pascal, which is, see if they don't cover this on the on mainstream media, which they won't. They won't cover this. And what it does is it gives a person a false impression that everything is okay, is what it does. And people will not, I'll just tell you right now, I'll tell everybody out there right now, you will not have time to prepare for the magnitude of what's coming. We needed to be warned when we were 3 years old and somehow take it serious, to get mentally prepped for what we're about to live through, because it's not a problem like a storm that will come and then go away, we recover. That's not what it's going to be. It's going to be a gradual degradation of everything we're used to. We're talking about a change that is both drastic and will change the course of human history. Really, when you speak that term, the end days, Pascal, you've been preaching this since Angela introduced me to you. You've been preaching the end days, but my issue, my prayer every single day is, are people really listening? Are they listening?
That's
are they
a great
doing
point.
something about it? Are they preparing?
No, I think, Mike, to answer that, no. They're just like in the days of Noah. I mean, Noah was telling people, look, guys, it's going to rain. The fountains of the earth are going to open. The water's going to overtake us. I'm building an ark. No, they are not preparing, Mike. They're not listening. They won't believe. I mean, the church is listening, and we don't even know. We're listening, but we can't imagine what you're saying.
Yeah, and that's a very difficult thing, because it's almost like there's an element to us internally. Listen, I've seen things, Pascal, that after I saw them, I did not believe them. It's almost like my brain wanted to wipe it out. It's kind of like that.
Yeah.
But these events that we're going through, presentation is everything, which is, and I'll talk to you about it. I've done some work in the background, something that takes many years to do for a short presentation, but it gives a person an idea of what they're dealing with. And it is a real, they're not simulations. This is data. These are captures from so many different things that have been happening over the years.
Well, let me ask you a question,
It's
Mike.
happening so slow, you can't really see it.
Let me ask you a question now, just because our next conference coming up April 23rd and 24th is called Climate Chaos. Can you maybe prepare some type of PowerPoint that we can put up, even when I'm interviewing you, that we can have Brock put on the screen and they can see what you're.
Yeah, I can do that. But this one I'm talking about here, which is I'll do a presentation for climate chaos.
Okay.
But this one may require some urgency.
Okay.
Really,
we got to hurry. We got to hurry.
We're going to be dealing with some things, right? And it's one of those. It's not an ET subject. It's a very real subject,
right? But
it puts it in perspective for everybody. And so that one requires some urgency.
Okay.
But getting back to the other subject, Pastor Paul, these things washing up on shore, simply displaced from magma events and earthquake events underneath the ocean. And we can't see that, of course. What we can see are the water levels. What we can notice are people who have wells, like those in Pennsylvania, Ohio, all these different places in Kentucky, Indiana, some places in New York, Illinois, North Carolina, Tennessee, all these places have wells. They're drying up. They have to put extensions on the well pumps to get water out, right? Because the water is just going down, down, down. Plus the mineral content in the water is gone. It's almost gone. That well water, the mineral content is almost gone. Now, taking its place is another phenomenon. But certainly in Ohio and Pennsylvania, certain neighborhoods are starting to smell sulfur mixed with a egg smell. We know that's natural gas, but there are no natural gas pipes in those areas, right? So we have ground seepage taking place right now, which means the magma is further closer to the surface than once suspected. It's very difficult to look for unless you can spot it by way of infrared or deep penetrating radar. So what we just have a conflagration of issues, and that's just the surface of the earth, not to mention those things, in the atmosphere and in the heavens. So all these things are building. We're not going to deal with one issue. We're going to deal with all issues happening, one day,
Okay, now,
the next day, and then it goes back to the other.
Okay, is it because, and maybe we move into this next level here, is it, or is part of these symptoms because of today, science came out and said, look, the heavens are shaking. This is the exact words in the headline. The heavens are shaking. Okay. There's the Milky Way is moving. The heavens are shaking. There's debris fields coming. There's gravitational pull on the solar system. They never would tell us exactly why in this article, but is this because of the binary system, Mike, that's creating this chaotic space?
Basketball, it's just getting to that point we discussed. It's going to be hard for them to cover it up. Kind of like, who is it? Is it Mountaineer Gas and Allegheny Power and some of these companies, right?
Yeah.
They know they're dealing with methane. They know this. They know they're dealing with methane. But what they're doing is they're trying to, they're trying to minimize what people would think so nobody loses confidence in the gas companies. Because there are certain neighborhoods in Pennsylvania right now everybody has had to move out from. Why? Because the ground is on fire underneath. They said it was due to the expansion of the coal fires that are still burning in Pennsylvania, Ohio, now in West Virginia, certainly in parts of Morgantown, I believe it is. So you have part of the ground burning there. It's expanding. The problem is this: methane is coming from the ground. There are no gas taps there, right? There are no gas taps.
No.
So you have this raunchy smell coming up from the ground, right? And the smell, one of the smells with natural gas, they treat natural gas so it's detectable for the average person. But we're not talking about just natural gas. We're talking about raw ingredients in the earth, methane, some sulfur.
How about some iron dioxide?
That's clearly magma, right? Magma upthrusting from deep inside the earth, hitting certain areas that may have some gas in them, but the type rock that's in that area is just liquefying that rock. The gaseous portions are starting to pressurize, and then they pop right through the surface. That's going to cause a problem in New York. It's going to cause a problem in Pennsylvania. It's going to start eating away at the infrastructure. It's already doing that. And there's some roads shut down in PA, Ohio, and West Virginia for this very reason. And they're doing their best to normalize everything. I'm saying this because if people are looking around for evidence, right? You could be in your home right now. Your house could sink because the ground melted. You can go report it, and they will tell you, don't say anything. Don't say a word. Don't report it. Don't do anything. And it continues to happen that way. sinkholes, very large sinkholes are starting to form now. They're going to get to the size where they can swallow an entire neighborhood, right? An entire neighborhood. They'll be that size because these evacuated portions of the ground are being tagged, and it's getting pretty bad. With the water and saltwater intrusion, that saltwater being detected in various places in the U.S., we have a crustal problem beyond belief. But it's not. No one's talking about it. No one's talking about the crustal problem, and it's going to. Pastor, one night, maybe one day, you may walk inside of your house on a normal day, turn around, go back out the door, and step right into water.
No
sound, no anything.
No, where's the water?
Right into water.
Well, where's the water coming from? From up?
That'll come right from the ground, and it won't be drinkable water. It's going to be a raunchy, salty, sulfur-filled water too, because it will seep up straight from the earth.
This is Mike from Around the World with us, folks, tonight. And as you just heard, he is going to be one of our speakers in our next conference coming up, April 23rd, 24th, Climate Chaos. Now, Mike, I want you to know that in the V conference, you were the only speaker that was censored on a non-censor server. There was about 3 or 4 areas and some of the things was when you were answering certain questions I gave that may have been a little too close for comfort out there for somebody. Now, if all the other speakers were not censored, no one else's went silent. Yours would go silent on you. But yet you and I know that it didn't happen when we were talking. So we're working on a way to capture your next presentation when we do this, and then play it back. And then actually the guy who owns this company is going to see to it that it gets uploaded without being censored. So he's got a way around that. Okay. So,
okay.
Wow. I mean, can you imagine? This is the kind of world we're in. Let me ask you a question, Mike, because I'm going to come back to the incoming asteroids. We haven't got there yet. I mean, you told us last week, blew my mind when you said it was 2 million miles wide and years deep. I want to go back to it. But first, people are wondering about President Biden came out yesterday, or I should say the White House announced that travel restrictions for Florida were being heavily considered by the White House because of the UK variant that is spreading, I guess, apparently in Florida and from the pandemic. And they're thinking about the president of the White House is saying cutting off all travel in and out of Florida. Now, we're not talking about from other countries. We're talking about from leaving Florida to any state or anybody in their state coming in. Isn't the governor in control of the state? Does the president have this authority, or does somebody in the government have this authority?
The government would have that authority under certain powers acts, which means the U.S. would have to be at a specific condition for that to happen. They would also have to own or take leadership of the highways at that time. But if that doesn't happen, there's no way he can do that. If the entirety of the U.S. is under some sort of national security status, the government can do that. They can federalize things quite quickly, but it has to be to save the USA, not to squirm out of an issue or anything like that. It has to be a legitimate threat. So in this case, that's language. I would suspect that he will later talk to certain individuals, and if they start to go against it, because some of these new variants that are coming out, right? I know it's confusing for folks, and I know that some people believe it's hogwash and some don't. Some are scared. The fear factor involved with COVID-19 and the UK variant is very real. There are so many discussions out there whether this virus is real or not. We know about the virus and the vaccines and things like that, but one of the points that we didn't bring out was how frightened people really are.
Right.
And through frightened people, they do extreme things. And to avoid some of these extreme activities, a certain type of protocol could be implemented for that area. Therefore, that would be in protection of the U.S. or something like that. So it depends. They're going to come up with something, some sort of
So, in other words, besides just shutting down, let's say, air travel back and forth out of Florida, I mean, the president, you're saying is they could actually shut down the interstates and the roads leading in across the line from, let's say, Alabama.
Oh, yes, they could.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, they most certainly could. Under certain Jade Helm, when they did Jade Helm, anybody involved in Jade Helm, they understand that in those simulations, part of that simulation was to enforce movement. Controlled movement. So that's why the logistics operations that took place in Jade Helm were so important. That was one of the focal points. Meaning they could shut down everything and then get logistics up to about 100% moving supplies and all over the U.S. Through the highways, but also controlling all civilians in the process. That was part of Jade Helm, that evaluation of certain operations. So absolutely, if they come up with a reason where the USA would be threatened or in danger, or something would impede the US from being a democracy, or something would kill it from being this republic it is, they most certainly will put it under different classification. The status will change, and they could implement that. Right now, at present, it's not bad enough. The conditions around the U.S. do not warrant any president, no matter who it is, to shut down any state like that, right? Because they would have to federalize some things first and take control of it. However, the pillboxes, they're in place. Those are concrete checkpoints that soldiers will be in. They're
bulletproof. I hear there's bulletproof glass checkpoints, concrete. They can move them in quickly.
Not only that, but they have a transit system right now, highway to highway, that will take soldiers to their posts on highways to control movements. Now, why they're doing that is because one of the threats that we face in this country is from a type of invasion, you could say. A type of invasion, and not from an enemy without, but from an enemy within.
Okay.
And that was another part of Jade Helm.
So, but this Jade Helm exercise that took place back 4 or 5 years ago, and I remember when it was going on, like around 2015, 14, 15, 16, somewhere in there, we reported on that, and you would come on and we would talk about this, and you said, keep an eye on this, watch what's going on. We saw the black helicopters and frogmen dropping into the Lake Michigan and around the coastal areas of East Coast, West Coast, and Gulf of Mexico. We seen troop movement quietly. We saw every little town had a armored vehicle sitting there. I mean, I remember driving through Indiana, little towns of 500 people. There'd be an armored vehicle sitting there. Like, what is that there? Okay, it was like a strategic positioning. Is that all preparing for such a time that could develop even now?
Oh, yeah. Listen, Fastball, during that time, they also left armored vehicles. Remember, they started giving the armored vehicles
to the police, to the local police. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, nobody saw the armored vehicles anymore.
No, they disappeared.
Also, and then later on after that, Department of Homeland Security was attached to many police departments all around the nation.
Yep.
And that went away too. So they know that civilians have a short memory, that we're locked into entertainment so much that if the story changes for everybody, then everybody changes their mind to the story. So we're kind of entertainment locked, meaning that we don't face reality, we escape it through media, is what Americans do. And they use that against us, right? And if more and more people wouldn't do that, they could see so much and be of good use to other folks.
Was there anything in that Super Bowl halftime? I mean, I saw some demonic. I saw what looked like a fallen angel and a demon choir and some stuff going on. Was there any other kind of messages going on there, Mike, that we need to know about?
Well, you know what? These entertainment things they show, I have to admit, guys, I'm not one to really. I don't like the halftime things. I don't like ceremonies that people put on because of what I know. Most people are innocent. They don't know, so it doesn't bother you. But when you know certain things, you're accountable for it by way of integrity, by way of your soul. And that, as a because I know certain things I won't partake of it, but I did hear of it. I did not watch it. I would suspect that they're going to continue to push an agenda to get rid of this male-female divide, Pastor Paul. I hate to say it, but they're doing this in America to get rid of the male and female divide, meaning there's going to be no divide between male and female. That's going to be offensive here shortly.
What?
Also, they have successfully broken down the family unit, which really does give me a high state of disgust. They have absolutely obliterated the family unit. The family unit is what keeps faith from generation to generation.
Right.
And they have successfully destroyed it, is what they have done. While everybody's out there fighting and arguing, they're breaking down the moral tissue that bound us together. And they're doing a pretty good job of it. And it seems like nobody is stopping them. So they blindside us on occasion, you know, and when you see these issues like this, and then you hear about the Super Bowl, that does nothing more than bolster this ideology with the young ones. See, us old folks, we look at that stuff and we already know what that's about, right? Somebody sitting singing and the octave is 20 keys up, you know, and it's a male and his wrist starts twisting a certain way, then something's not right there. We already know this, but the younger kids, they look beyond it, right? And so, that's just more degradation of the moral fabric that was established here under the banner of salvation, under the banner of men following what God instituted in this country, and they have just thrown it all away.
Folks, Mike Around the World's with us tonight, of course, and like I said, if you missed the V conference, you can still get the ticket if you want to, and I think there's like 82 days left, you can watch it online, or get the DVD, okay? Just go ahead and Tara, put the link up there if you can for the DVD. People can click on that and order your DVD. Mike, even though they censored 2 or 3 parts of yours, majority of it's there. It's an hour and 11-minute interview, and it was phenomenal. And so, folks, please it's worth it just to hear Mike's portion, if not anyone else. And the rest of them were great. I mean, they were really great. So it was incredible. Mike, let's talk about this now. You know, I'm getting the Minority Report. Minority Report. That was a movie that came out with Tom Cruise, I think, and some others, that the government was going to watch our social media habits, our texts, our texting on our phone, our emails, listen to our phone calls, follow what we watch on television, our clicks on our history on our browsers, where we go to church, our ideology, and they would start to determine or label us like, let's say, deplorables or maybe irredeemable or need to be. I heard Eugene Robinson, one of the writers for the New York Times, said that some folks need to be re-educated. We're almost like we're at a cult status. They're trying to say that Christians have and conservatives seem to be they've been brainwashed. I'm hearing that term now. It's going everywhere in the media. And the Minority Report, what they did was they began to analyze people in the movie and determine who was going to do what based on their belief system, and try to get out ahead of us and maybe start arresting people in advance, or a preemptive strike, if you will, against citizens. Is there something going on? Has there ever been a militarily or in intelligence, has this ever been discussed about preemptively hurting people, transferring people, transmitting people, or you know, putting people, separating them from the rest of the population?
Well, the Minority Report is based on an older writing that took place, I believe it was in the 50s. It's based on a story from the 50s in which a guy named, I forgot his full name, it's Philip, some weird middle name, but Philip was the author, and he got that information from some actual German studies, some actual German
the Nazis?
Plans, things that were going. They were doing this. They were actually doing this in Germany. And here's the problem, though, Pastor Paul. Here's the issue. Now, this is where you need your helmet and your seatbelt.
Oh, here we go.
This, in Germany, they were actually employing this to a high degree of accuracy in Germany. Because what Germany did and what Russia did back during that time is they exploited psychic abilities, all these different abilities that behavioral scientists have given names to. They have exploited, right? Which to me is nothing more than one who can listen to spirits.
Right.
But they exploited that. And what they did was they started to implement it by way of something that the USA picked up on later called remote viewing. Germany was doing this back in the 50s, back in the 40s, 30s, 40s, and 50s. And Germany got this from another place, right? But it was working. Anyway, they did this with a high degree of accuracy. And they covered this up. It was important that when the scientists came to the USA, that they would cover it up through falsifying certain historical events in Germany by way of the arrests. So they swapped some of the names by way of the arrests, so no one would know that they were utilizing a method to do this, to catch people before they ever got started. Because Hitler himself was named by this same process. Do you know that? Before he came into power, there was a group of men who warned that Hitler is rising to power by this same method. And of course, during the 30s, it picked up momentum, and it kept picking up momentum until we get to the present day. But yes, it's based off something very real. It's something that has been practiced in the USA since the 40s. It's been something they have been utilizing.
Remote viewing.
They've been utilizing it a lot. But here's where you need your seatbelt.
Okay.
Here's where you need it. Have you guys, this is for everybody, have you noticed events? Now, all of us are human beings, and we're given the gift or the ability of discernment. Discernment is knowing the truth. Despite what somebody presents, we're given that gift of discernment to see the truth beyond whatever's presented. We can see the truth.
Right.
There have been times when people have collectively discerned the outcome of something, but as soon as these think tanks get a hold of it, everything shifts. It never takes place. Everything shifts. It's almost like everybody could bet their life on it and say, well, I know this is going to happen. But then the next day, it's almost like everything is reset differently. Everything is different. The agenda goes the opposite direction. People start speaking differently. And you really have to look at all of it. Because what they're doing is this. Artificial intelligence is a product of the 50s. It is not some modern day thing. Artificial intelligence began through machine learning, began with Big Blue. But they never told the public about the split in IBM back then. IBM has its two entities. One entity was public, and even with our defense, Department of Defense, DARPA, so on and so forth, there are other programs. Because people only heard about Big Blue. They didn't hear about anything after the split. And what they were doing, they were utilizing a computer with living brain tissue, with a lot of what people would call witchcraft, a lot of ceremonies, a lot of everything. They were finding out about everything, bringing all the ancient practices back to this present day, and they did so right, you guessed it, Area or S4. They did it right there in that vicinity. And then the nut job went up there and opened up as many gates as he could. Why? Because the more gates they opened, spiritual gates they opened, the more accurate these things would become.
Okay, now keep that thought, because I just saw where Amazon is going to build a brand new headquarters across the Potomac River in Washington, D.C., right across from the Capitol, 4 miles from the Capitol, right across the river, a spiral building that looks exactly like the architectural construction of the Tower of Babel. Is that what you're saying? They're bringing back ancient technologies and opening portals? They're mimicking it? Or what's going on?
Well, that could be a representation. But what I'm saying is these guys were doing all of this, Pastor Paul, back in the 50s.
In the 50s?
Doing all of it back in the 50s.
Okay.
These are not new things. So predictive or predicting or trending, you guys hear me talk about trending all the time. Trending. Part of that trending is artificial intelligence is also predicting. An example is this. these systems that they have can literally give you the words to say. You can read those words in front of a bunch of people. The activities of the people is already calculated of what they will do. It will drive people to do specific things. Based on those specific things, you have your response 12 days in advance. You even know, right? Because they have the behavioral science modules. They're so exact, it's not funny.
Yeah.
Which is why you can talk about something probably with your wife, and then 5 minutes later it pops up on your phone, or a commercial comes up on your television, or something like that. So what you're dealing with is you're dealing with artificial intelligence that is, in fact, because the neurological, this electronic neurological system that they have developed, that they began in the 50s, of which HARP had a lot to do with. Because they keep talking, that living map that they have of the world is part of this AI system. It can predict, if you're having a conversation with about a 98% accuracy rate, it can predict what you're going to say for the next 2 minutes out, based on the conversation you have right now. That's why they have been working at CERN, because they need a higher power potential to tap into to process more than qubits, which is quantum computing. They need something that will compute something before you even ask it. And I'm telling you, they're working on this now. In the Bible, Pastor Paul, it says what? It says the Antichrist, not man, does not have the power, but it says this Antichrist has power to give life into the beast.
Yeah.
That it would what? That it would kill anybody who would not take the mark, not worship it, not do this stuff.
That's right.
But listen to this statement. How would it know if you're not going to worship it? What if somebody went up there and said, oh, yes, I'll follow you and do everything else, but in their hearts they would not do it? How would this machine know what's going on in their hearts? Think about that. This machine, we're not talking about something that you check yes or no and then it kills you. No. We're talking about a machine where you could lie to it. And then it says, nope, this person is not loyal.
Well, we know this, Mike.
That's what we're talking about.
Okay, let's go. And we've been practicing this for a long time. I mean, just for instance, lie detector machines. You can lie to a lie detector machine. You know, there's very few people that can beat it, but most people, it reads you. It can read you by your reactions and your blood pressure and your breathing. And
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now just take that technology. It's been around for 60 years. And multiply it by 10,000 in the capabilities you're saying of an AI technology that can almost read our thoughts. And, you know, maybe it is reading our thoughts. I mean, I'm starting to get to this point now. And that's what you're saying. This thing will say, yes, you are. I know you. You will. Okay. It knows you. In other words, it can see into your heart, almost into your mind. You know, they just now came out with this new microchip at Neuralink, and they're going to be implanting this into the brain. And now they're saying this is to help Alzheimer's patients and those with some neurological problems and cognitive issues. And maybe so. Okay, I'm not saying that won't be partially used for that, but let's go a little deeper than that, is to be able to do predictive, maybe more than just predictive your behavior.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot more.
It's telling your behavior. It can change your mood. If we can change people's mood with chemicals, Mike, couldn't we do it with electronics, with technical capability?
They're already doing that. Let me give you an example of something. Number one, they already have your patterns. Everything went digital, right? Back in 2005. 2005. Then they had the mandate on the phones. Everything had to be switched to the digital networks. Why? This is for data collection for the NSA initially. But the NSA is split in 4 quadrants. All that information about your patterns is kept, right? Those patterns, you don't even know, but you repeat these patterns at least twice per day. Some people repeat them more than that. They have your entire life as to what you'll do based on the temperature, based on the time of day, based on the time of the year, based on certain conversations that are taking place. And so predictive behavior is easily calculated to a very high percentage of everybody. They even know, Walmart knows how to stock their stores, not based on what is missing on the shelves, but based upon what their customers are going to buy a month from now. That's why they're changing the eating habits, shopping habits, and everything else of everybody. Here's the bad part. This predictive system where they actually go and pick people up They've been doing this since, I believe it was 2002. 2002. They already knew about quite a few events. It's been proven right. Plus, there's phenomena that happens before every single major event. You know what takes place? Because they have tapped into everybody. Every single time, right before anything happens on the face of the earth, conversations come up. Lots of conversations come up about that event. They have access to everybody's text, everybody's conversations. A computer reads it. It filters through that. At least 62% of the populace of the earth will talk about a catastrophe 72 hours before it happens with deadly accuracy every single time.
What?
And they're utilizing this information, this data. Computers are allowing them to really know everybody on earth. And because many people on earth are God's children, and we have discernment, we just don't know how to keep our mouths shut. We're telling them everything they need to know. And they utilize us for many of the, that's why all these people, a lot of people think in their heads, well, why didn't Satan just kill everybody? Right? If he hates us so much, why not just kill us? Why haven't these evil people in the world just killed us? They don't want to kill you. They want you to contribute to their system.
Right.
And they'll do anything to make you pick a side, and then we become loyal to that side, not knowing what we're truly doing.
They want, the devil Lucifer wants us to worship him. He wants us to bow to him. He even took Jesus, guys, on top of that pinnacle, and he said, look, I'm going to show you the kingdoms of the whole world. You just bow down right here and worship me, and I'll give you all of the world. I mean, think about it. He was more interested in Christ submitting to him than he was destroying Christ. You know, he already tried that one. Tried to kill the baby, right? He tried to kill the baby. Couldn't do it.
He can't kill us either. He can't touch us. But so you see, that's why I am not loyal to men, but I'm loyal to Christ.
Amen.
And if another person believes in Christ, then I have a brother in that loyalty.
Amen.
But I need to love my brother, not be loyal to him, not hinge too many things on him, but have that person be free so that I can work in his system in the good things he does. But these things they will use against us, but it's going to a deeper level here, Pascal. This is that there are so many things that are happening all at one time.
Well, MK Ultra we now know is a real deal. Okay, and that we know that, right?
Yeah, it's like that's kindergarten.
Yeah, it's kindergarten compared to where we're at now, right?
Yeah, it's kindergarten.
Yeah. Folks, Mike from the World's with us, guys. In case you don't know, Council of Time does a great job in bringing us information. They have been for about 8 years. He and Mike and I have been working together on this. And I tell you something, I want to welcome and thank all of you, nearly 7,000 of you with us tonight live. Mike, they did poison the water down here in Florida, just south of Tampa, Super Bowl weekend. Somebody hacked the water system.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did.
And I forgot the chemical, but what they did was it had created lye, and from 100 parts per million, it went to 11,100 parts per million. If the good operator hadn't spotted it, we'd have had a mass casualties in that town.
Yeah.
How did they do that, Mike?
Well, Pascal, you know what? This time that we're in right now, this week, probably in a good time to tell you what they know, right? But I'll tell you this.
Okay.
These individuals are not average citizens. They're not, but they're all over the place. In fact, we discussed some of these citizens when the Capitol incident happened. We're not talking about the Proud Boys. We're not talking about just your ordinary individuals. No, we're talking about some groups that nobody ever talks of. They have the resources. They have the position. They can do whatever they desire, and they have plans. So expect more of these things to happen. And I'll tell everybody this: we're about to walk into some very dangerous days. Very dangerous days. There's no avoiding the outcome. Just as I said prior to this Capitol incident, before it happened, that it was going to be dangerous that day, right? There's going to be, some tilt or two would happen. Well, think of it being, 100 times worse. This is what will face, and it's unavoidable. These things will begin to play out. They're going to gain momentum. They're utilizing people's frustration and anger and everything else, and they are stoking fires of any type they can. And I can tell you right now they're accomplishing what they want to accomplish. What they really want to accomplish is break us down from the inside, and they're doing it with lies. Just a bunch of lies. It's very difficult to know what to believe out there.
Right.
So, but they're because we're going to have a few more. They were tracking conversations a couple days ago, and there's some other plans at play. Will they happen? Probably, because they've already sent assets down there to intercept it, so they'll start talking about it. But we're going to face things like this from the inside. This, So,
Mike, so it sounds like, and tell me if I'm on the right track, with the Serpent Brotherhood has planted people in different parts of our infrastructure, our government,
everywhere,
our military, our churches, everywhere. And they really work for Lucifer, right? I mean, they're sworn to Lucifer.
Yeah, they are.
That's what we're dealing with.
We're not talking about people who go to the church of Satan.
No.
They just don't know what they're doing. We're talking about people who basically walk alongside dark spirits, who they are dark spirits walking the earth, who inhabit these. So we're not just talking about the people see on television. No, they don't even compare to these folks, because the average person will regurgitate just to be around them. It's that repulsive. That's how repulsive it is. But I have to say this as a child of Christ, right? Number one, let no one ever tell you that you're not a child of Christ. If you believe in Christ, you know it. God gave that belief to you. Nobody else knows your belief but you. So stay on that foundation. Number two, Satan can't do anything to you so long as you remain in Christ. He is our fortress. They cannot penetrate that. But these people are cold-hearted. They have no compassion. Zero, no compassion. And a lot of people are going to begin to face some of their truths here shortly, because our democracy is being ripped up at the same time. The heavens are going to be ripped up. It looks like everything is happening at the same time.
Same time.
But, yeah.
No getting out of that, folks. You can't change Bible prophecy, but you can be on the winning team. You can.
Absolutely.
And that's what Mike, you're saying. We can be born again, washed in the blood of Jesus Christ. And there's no fear in us. None. Because greater is he that's in us than he that's in the world.
That's right.
Mike, we got to talk again next Thursday night. What should we look for? What should we prepare for?
Well, we're going to have a people problem, just so everybody knows that. But I got to tell everybody this, Pastor Paul.
Okay.
I got to tell everybody this. Never fear these things that are happening in the earth, because our Father in heaven is permitting them to take place. Satan couldn't be Satan unless the Lord said, go ahead and be Satan. And there is a time he will be bound. He is already defeated. He's not out of God's control. God is allowing him to run outside of the fence of the sheep. Just don't go across that fence. Stay within the fold. Stay within the fold. But Satan can't do anything. Never fear the events that are coming, because the same Father that permits them will use those events for our deliverance. See, we're Christians. So the doom that comes to the earth is coming. That doom, men will say it's doom, but the children of the Most High will say it's our deliverance. This is what we have waited to see. It's a total different story there for us. So remain within Christ at all costs, because now the battle will increase to get you out from under the shadow of the Most High. It will try to snatch you out of that secret place. Don't do it. Don't fall for it. Keep rooted in Christ.
Amen, Mike. Couldn't say it any better. Praise God. Thank you, brother, so much. See you next Thursday night.
God bless you, Pastor Paul. I'll be here.
All right. God bless. Mike, we're on the